Have you ever had that feeling that the person standing right next to you is actually living in a completely different world? This is a story about that feeling, a story of two friends and the invisible wall that stood between them. Just imagine your best friend in the world turns to you, their voice quiet, and says those words, "The food you're throwing away tonight, that's what my family eats for an entire week." What do you even say to that? How does a friendship even begin to recover from a moment that raw? So let's go back. The year is 2018. Picture a busy school hallway, and in it, two girls, Kanza and Yasmin. They had one of those friendships that felt like it could conquer anything. They were inseparable. They shared everything, or so they thought. But some truths, well, they have a way of hiding in plain sight. See, Kanza's world was one of real comfort. Her family had money, and her dreams were always encouraged, seen as things that were meant to be achieved. Yasmin's life? It was different. She came from a poor household, a place where even the idea of dreaming big felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. But inside those school walls, it felt like none of that mattered. Those differences just seemed to melt away. They were just Kanza and Yasmin, best friends. Kanza, who was a whiz at math, aced a huge test and wanted to celebrate. She decided to throw what she called a small party. When Yasmin showed up, she was just stunned. Twinkling lights were strung up over a perfect lawn, the air filled with music and laughter. But what really took her breath away was the food. Tables were overflowing with it, just mountains of food for maybe a dozen guests. As the night came to an end, Yasmin saw something that just made her heart sink. She watched as staff cleared the tables, scraping plate after plate of untouched food straight into the trash. Her eyes started to well up. Kanza noticed, of course, and walked over, worried. And that's when Yasmin's quiet words just cut through the night air. A stunned Kanza asked if she was serious, and Yasmin just looked at her and said, "Yes. For you, this is just a party. But for me, this is a beautiful, impossible dream." In that single moment, something between them fractured. The gap between their two worlds suddenly felt like a massive ocean they never even knew existed. And it forces you to ask a really tough question. Were these two friends who went to the same school, who walked the same hallways, were they truly living in the same world at all? And here's the devastating truth. This isn't just a story about two girls. It's a story about all of us. Because income inequality has become this kind of silent architect, building two totally separate realities right inside the same society. One reality for people who are encouraged to dream, and another for those whose circumstances have crushed the very courage it takes to even try. I mean, just really think about this for a second. On the very same day that one parent is writing a check for a school fee in the hundreds of thousands, another parent, maybe just a few miles away, is making the heartbreaking choice to pull their child out of school for good, not because they don't value education, but because buying a new school uniform means not having enough money for food. We are living in a reality where what one person earns in a single day can be more than what another person earns in their entire lifetime. You know, it's easy to look at a gap that huge and just ask, well, is this just fate? Is it all just the lottery of birth, a random roll of the dice that decides your whole life? But the truth is, no, it isn't fate. This is by design. This is the direct result of the system that we've all had a hand in building. It's a system that basically rigs the race of life. It creates a playing field that's completely uneven before the starting gun even has a chance to go off. Think about it. When a kid's entire future can be decided by the quality of the school in their neighborhood, the race is unfair. When your ability to get life-saving healthcare depends on how much money you have, the race is unfair. And when the best jobs go to the most connected people instead of the most qualified, well, the race isn't just unfair anymore, it's rigged. It's like lining everybody up for a race, but giving a few people a horse to ride while tying heavy chains around everybody else's ankles. And then, at the finish line, having the nerve to say it was a fair competition based on merit. It's not just unfair, it's a cruel joke. But the damage here isn't just personal, it's collective. So what is the real cost of this deep divide? It's so much more than the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. The real loss is something much deeper. The greatest tragedy of this whole system is the loss of human potential. As a society, we are actively throwing away our single most valuable resource, our best and our brightest minds.
How many potential game-changing scientists or brilliant doctors are out there right now, their talent buried under the weight of poverty? How many future engineers are stuck in jobs just struggling to put food on the table? All that potential, all those gifts, they're just lost. To all of us, forever.
We really have to get our heads around this critical truth. Every single time a child is forced to drop out of school because of poverty, it's not just their future that gets smaller. It's our collective future that is being permanently damaged.
Look, I know this is a bleak picture. It's so easy to feel hopeless listening to all this. But we have to ask ourselves, is there a way out of this? Is there a solution? And the answer is a resounding yes. There is always a path forward. And it really begins with 3 simple but incredibly powerful steps.
First, we have to acknowledge the problem. We have to look this issue square in the eye and just admit that it's real. You can't heal a wound you're pretending isn't there. Second, we have to truly commit to building a system where every single child, every Kanza and every Yasmin gets a genuine chance to succeed. And third, we have to find our voices and use them. We have to speak up and demand change. That means we must demand one high standard of excellence for every school, no matter the zip code. We must demand that our hospitals provide the same quality care to every single person who walks through their doors. And we must demand a world where jobs are given based on talent and hard work, not on who you know.
Because here's the bottom line. When a society makes life harder for its poorest people, it's not just holding them back. It is placing a giant mountain in its own path to progress. Because if we let this divide just keep getting deeper, the consequences are, well, they're dire. The fabric of society starts to fray. Trust disappears, and eventually a society can be pushed to a breaking point where it's forced to tear itself apart from the inside. And that is the most terrifying end of all.